supposed to go on the shine. Goes like a thumb, goes like a thumb.
As for the expectations index, it is a miss, 90.6 versus estimates of 91.6. So it's worth noting that the business confidence number has come in lower than expectations and also lower.
If oil prices are cheaper, and the thing about the thing on the top is right, you want to buy and hold in India stocks. Buy, hold today. Buy early, hold late. Make all the money. Watch. Huh. Abu Dhabi's limit, eyes one big commitment. Fuck it. Europe gas sits below 30. Import surge. Joke. Startup rated 75 million. Take junior bankers grunt work. Trick. Julius Baer warns profit after 186 million loan charge. Fuck off. Australia turns eminent outlier. Big resources deal struggle. Maybe looking at that. Marcos challenges accuser return home. Prove allegations. Frankly, the whole thing's a setup move right there. I wouldn't even look at all of them things. All of them. Abu Dhabi is set commit. Giving us $1 billion state-backed artificial intelligence investor MGX. Well, MGX or Chop Shop. Bet money. No. Huh. Lunette deploys capital through 4 distant fund stages. A niche partnership also manages money on behalf of other investors. Right? And Lunette, no. We ain't paying for you to fuck our women. Abu Dhabi. Watch. I've been did that. I ain't doing that ever again. You don't get any more money. Abu Dhabi. Complete. Did that. I'm done. That's it. I'm out. I'm out. Done. Ha. No more fucking Abu Dhabi money. Kiss my butt. Yeah, fuck that. This your channel? No, they did your channel instead of Patano. You're the one sending the ticket to Abu Dhabi. It's super long. Chico to put No. I don't know. What you got? Yeah, Renee eyes, one big in ass firm. No, that's MGX thing. That, I own MGX. We sell hoes. No.
Last week when it seemed like the US was keen to try and ram that plan through, perhaps as soon as before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I hope MGX go out of business. I hate selling hoes. It's the dumbest thing ever. I hate it. European natural gas dropped with 30 megawatt hour. Here's some. First time in a year, conflict level drop, including increase in forced discussion about ending Russia's war in Ukraine. Benchmark futures hit lowest levels in May 24. Well, futures hit low levels since May 24. 24 was a high point, 22 was a low point, 4, 5, 6. That future's about to pop. That future's done. Buy. That future, whatever the fuck they were talking about before here, that said future, because the other future was 2 years, this is 3 years, you should buy that future. I think. I don't play the futures market too much. You should ask. Bum ass lost all her money in futures. Taylor Swift made a bunch of money in futures, got it stolen from her because of Jake Barber. Ask Taylor Swift about playing the futures market. It's stupid, dumb, hyphy. Fuck that market. No. MGX, come on, they want to know what about. They thought there was an oil firm. Aren't they an oil firm now? I don't care about the place. Put my business on the shit. Yeah. Now nobody's selling. Now nobody knows. Nobody's doing anything wrong. Now nobody's doing anything wrong apparently. Everybody's wrong now. Right now, Jake's wrong again. Everybody knows. Jake's wrong. Jake's finally fucking wrong about selling. MGX don't sell anything but oil futures. Fuck.
Managing editor for European Economy Document. Thank you so much. Well, global stock scanning after volatile week. Concern rises about potential Fed rate cuts. The US now is Ursula Marconi, senior head of investment portfolio solutions at BlackRock. It's to have with us on this show. I want to zoom in more and talk about more about the European equity trade because there was a lot of optimism, some momentum around investor appetite to own European equities in the first half of the year. It seems as though since then things have started to stall. Why do you think momentum has slowed down in the last couple of months?
So good morning, first of all, Joanna, thanks for having me. I think the question on Europe is one that is particularly important for our clients domiciled in the region. and therefore having large home buying portfolios. I was slightly different. I still believe that significant desire from investors to diversify their equity sleeves and their risk allocations away from trades that might have become very concentrated in their portfolios. So to your point, we've seen a great story globally unfolding this year of repatriation, European clients going back into European equities, similar behavior in Asia, and I believe this has still legs to grow and continue. To your point, Europe has structural challenges, which we won't deny, but the momentum around structural shifts and desire to change policy approaches is being China, and I believe it will carry for 2020.
Yeah. So one of the darling trades of this year has been defense stocks, and you just have to look at the performance of some of these stocks to reflect some of the optimism in that space. I do wonder though, given the news over the past 24 hours, if there is a breakthrough between Russia and Ukraine, what does that do to the upside, the outlook in that space?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is, though, I believe, a structural shift that we have seen happening and that will continue to play out. So defence is one of the areas that we continue to like in Europe. Taking a step back, the European trade this year hasn't been one where the tide has lifted over. It's been very much concentrated. And so as we think about 2026, we need to continue to focus on companies with strong fundamentals. And in terms of sectors, defence and banks continue to be, in our opinion, an interesting space to watch. To your point, defence is now quite expensive, yet if you think about the new stance taken from Germany starting to filter through and impact earnings, those valuations can see support. Similarly, the NATO 3.5 GDP target for 2035 is very ambitious, but again, even if we were to hit at 3%, you would see deployment coming. So despite the levels that we're starting at, there's still, from a structural perspective, an opportunity. And then to one
It's interesting.
the other area.
Yeah, I was going to actually pick you up on banks. I wanted to drill down into that because those are the two areas that I think have done the best in European markets this year. And if you look at the relative valuations, this is for your latest report, you have the defense segment of the market trading at 32 times forward 12-month multiple, compared to around 10 for banks. Would you say that there's still a value opportunity in banks that doesn't exist in defense stocks here?
So it's a very different starting point. I completely agree with you. And the story for banks, again, is one where we might see opportunities. There's a lot of M&A discussions, so further boost to profitability at the back of efficiencies that can be gained. But also what I would point is, to your point, an entry point that is interesting to the stats that you quoted, and the fact that the EMEA wealth market is one very much dominated and intermediated by banks. And so as we look at the region and the big waves of savers moving into investments, we talk about 14 trillion waiting to be deployed. Banks are at the very center of that, unlike in the US where, for example, the advisory space is way more developed. And so again, we see an opportunity there for banks to be part of that revolution and benefit from it.
Yeah, and yet banks tend to be quite cyclical. The most recent macro signals coming through from the European economy haven't been that supportive. I mean, even just this morning, we had the IFO numbers come through, a miss versus expectations. The ECB themselves aren't forecasting growth north of 1% for next year. Can banks actually outperform in that environment?
I think it's a great question. It, again, depends on the investment horizon that people will want to see playing out in their portfolios. And again, is it a 3, a 6, a 12-month trade? What I believe is happening in markets, and there's been a lot of discussions last week in your opening just now around what is happening around the equity trade. What I observe is that investors continue to want to hold risk, but are certainly reducing incremental position as we approach year end. They're taking profits, particularly in certain areas. And so, for example, for AI in the US, we have seen through exchange traded products some buying last week, so buying on deep. But again, tempered by desire to diversify the risky exposure in the portfolio with also an additional allocation to, for example, US healthcare to build some defensiveness. And I think, Jumana, banks and Europe as a whole, and can be positioned in this broader picture where investors want to take profit in the big trades that have played out in their portfolios as we approach year-end rebalancing, but also remain invested in a way that diversify their portfolios, either through sectors or through regions. And so Europe fits that picture.
So interesting. Ursula Marchione, EMEA, Head of Investment Portfolio Solutions at BlackRock. Thank you so much for joining us on the Pulse today.
Not acceptable to
Well,
anyone
switching
involved.
to some corporate news, the
Go
world's
home now.
largest miner,
Go overseas.
BHP,
Welcome,
has
y'all played your
walked
hand.
away from a fresh
You're not
takeover
worth
bid
anything.
for
There's no money in your bank
More
account.
that's bringing
There's no
Bloomberg
gas in your
Deals
gas
reporter.
tank.
Dinesh,
You don't know
you're
where the
listening
keys
in
to
the
your
device
cars
here.
are.
Good to be sitting next
You're
to
all
Dinesh.
outbid. You're welcome in all
It
fronts.
looks as though over the
and
weekend that this
got
deal
nothing.
was going to be back on
The
again.
greater good
It
of
had
the
gone
community
silent for 12
as
months
a
or so,
whole. Like
over
you
a
said
year.
you were gonna do.
And now you fast forward, BHP had made another
You're fired.
potential takeover attempt,
All of it.
but seemed to be
Everything.
walking away once more.
Possibly be
To the
fired
details.
from
What
the
went down this
exception.
weekend?
Yeah, it was a pretty busy
Oh,
weekend for us.
Jennifer
The
Walker.
excitement was a bit short-lived.
And Harmony Granger
So
baby.
as we understand, BHP
I'm
made
just gonna give a
an
name, I
approach
wish
to
Jennifer
Anglo
Walker.
American, an offer which we think was a mix of
And
cash and
Washington.
stock, probably a bit more cleaner than what they offered last year, pretty much the same time. However, Anglo American seems to have rejected that proposal, as we reported, and hence BHP walked away, which means they probably are, as per UK typical rules, are not going to come back for a few months actually.
What were the main challenges in getting this deal across the line? Was it just economics, or were there other things to think about as well?
I think there were a few factors last time. I think the key factor was that Anglo American was probably not willing to be sold to BHP, but there were also other political factors coming to it. BHP's offer, when they came in 2024, was contingent on Anglo American doing several things. In a way, BHP was the activist that kind of triggered Anglo American, whose shares were down, trading much below last year, to kind of go out and really restructure their business.
Yeah.
And do a lot of things. So they've done the cleanup act over the last 1 year. They spun off the platinum business. They tried to sell the platinum business. They had an agreement. Unfortunately, they couldn't get through with that with Peabody, but their shares have re-rated.
Yeah.
Considerably.
But Dinesh, the crown jewel is the copper business, right? So what does BHP do from here?
I mean, like every major miner in the industry today, everyone is scrambling for copper assets. The sad reality is that there aren't many copper assets of size available. The ones who have copper assets don't see any rationale in selling it. They're hanging on to it with everything possible, as we see in the case of Anglo American. So BHP is probably left with not many other choices to do inorganically. Probably why they said in the statement that they believe in organic growth. Having said that, the commitment to the second approach is a bit questionable. Normally, when you are one of the largest miners in the world, you come back for the second time, you go in all in, which they seem to have walked away quite swiftly.
Yeah.
Probably because they didn't get any engagement. But I think the mining industry will continue to look at opportunities to acquire copper assets.
Well, exciting weekend in the mining world. Dinesh, thank you so much. That was Bloomberg's Dinesh there. Well, coming up, it is finally budget week in the UK, and Chancellor Rachel Reeves is under pressure from CEOs threatening to cut investments. More details next. This is Bloomberg.
Introducing the all-new Mobilizer compression socks from Copperfit. Easy on, easy off compression socks that reduce swelling and relieve tired, achy feet. With built-in arch support technology for targeted relief right where you need it.
I thought all compression socks are the same, and I've learned it's a world of difference. They reduce inflammation, they reduce the pain.
No more pain, no more achy feet. These are the socks to wear to help keep the energy going. It's just been amazing for me.
And now, Copperfit compression just got even better with energizing blue infrared fibers woven into soft, breathable compression fabric to help boost circulation, reduce swelling, and relieve pain. Copperfit compression plus Lumicore blue infrared fibers. Two breakthrough technologies combined to give you soothing foot relief all day, every day, so you can stay healthy.
The compression, the fit, the comfort. I love these socks. I want to have them all the time.
I can get anything more. That's exactly what I want to do because I'm not in foot pain anymore. I'm addicted to wearing it. I feel like I can get anything done no matter what it is.
Breathable, easy on, easy off design. Gradual compression for energizing support and to reduce swelling from prolonged sitting or standing. Built with support technology, plus Lumicore blue infrared fibers to boost circulation and reduce swelling for soothing all-day relief.
They'll keep me going. They're going to keep me mobile, keep me doing the things I want to do.
The Lumicore technology works fantastic. That, to me, was the game changer.
Get mobilized, guaranteed, or your money back. Get your Mobilizer socks now at mobilizersocks.com for as low as $19.99. Plus, your shipping is free. That's right, free shipping.
The more I wore them, the better I got. I just feel happier.
Nothing compares to Copperfit mobilizer socks. Nothing.
You have got to get them.
Get yours now at mobilizersocks.com. That's mobilizersocks.com.
Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, delivers the UK's autumn budget. Can she boost growth and productivity by unlocking investment? How will the Treasury raise revenue without breaking tax promises? And will the budget prove that a fairer economy can bring more working people? Bloomberg Television brings you special coverage starting with the Chancellor's Statement to Parliament at 12:30 p.m. UK time. And tune in Thursday for the opening trade budget special at 7 a.m. Bloomberg, context changes everything.
Belt.
This is the Pulse. I'm Jemima Versace in Dubai. UK CEOs are bracing for Chancellor Rachel Reeves to pile further costs on their businesses in this week's budget. Bloomberg has spoken to some who are warning that they will stop investing in the country altogether if the government pushes ahead with some of the mooted tax hikes. Anna Andrade from Bloomberg Economics joins me now. Well, Anna, I guess then the question is, should we take these CEOs at their word that they'll cut investments in the UK as a consequence of this budget?
Hi, good morning. I think understanding the context here is important. We're coming out of the year where businesses have been particularly hurt by last year's investment when Rachel Reeves decided to increase taxes on business by more than 20 billion for the private sector.
That's what I think
And
the
that obviously
lenders
had,
set one
an impact on the whole
ratio
economy. We've seen sort of the labor
says
market
like,
cooling.
well,
We've seen a bit of
the CET1 is a process, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, which means they're going to lose money a little bit.
into their profit margins. So they need to sort
21
of
forward
adjust the
means they're going to
headcount,
drag the
adjust
whole price
prices,
up
and we've seen
that
some
much percentage.
repercussions of that happening
So that's what's
in
going
the
to
past
happen.
year in the economy. So another hit to businesses now wouldn't be great. But what I would say is that usually, typically, businesses make business decisions on a longer term horizon, not sort of on 1 year basis. And
pay out.
Rachel Reeves, I would
That
say,
could
and
go
the
in the
Labour
actual
government in
levels,
general have really
13.4
been
at the end of
contributing
third.
to sort of
All in
policy
24
stability and to sort of stable interest rates.
third
So the
quarter,
fact that they didn't
more
sort of
ING now, so
make
pay out
very
which
resilient
comes
fiscal
from
plans
well,
1
we
year
don't
ago
don't
has
pay that much
contributed to a
now.
lot of uncertainty and a lot of
Honestly.
volatility in rates. And if
Even
Rachel
real
Reeves
safe
now
on that.
in this budget
I didn't
manages
even
to
all over there.
build plans that are resilient
All
enough to
over
sort of
that.
stop these two factors from dragging on the economy, that will also be beneficial for businesses sort of in the longer term.
Yeah. And Andrade from Bloomberg Economics, thank you so much. And tomorrow we will be giving you a full preview of what Bloomberg Economics are expecting into that UK budget. Well, there's been a lot of talk recently about cracks in the private credit markets following the failures of Tricolor and First Brand. Nonetheless, private credit remains a growing financing method both in Europe and the US. So what are the world's biggest banks doing to ensure that they're still seen as desirable lenders, whilst also being
Spread index
selective
dropped
about
the
only
alpha,
investing in
the
quality
alpha on
companies?
that.
Joining us now is Derek Keefe,
Get
head
to
of banking for
November,
Europe and Americas at
9-1,
HSBC. Good morning to you, Derek. Good to have you
That's
with
it,
us.
really not for
Before
watch.
we delve into private
Companies
credit, I
arrested
just want to
transfer
zoom
some
out
more
for a little
positive
bit
President Clinton's
and
fierce
talk
said.
about the
They
sheer
got
number
underscored
of
how it's
news
about to get
headlines that
Clinton
we've
still
had this
growing
year.
investing
And
in
yet,
trade defense.
a remarkable
But who
outperformance
cares?
for global
Companies
equities.
said,
It actually has
you
been
gotta
a
figure out
very
which
strong
companies,
year for US equities,
companies fierce
European
to set
equities,
us
Asian
as.
equities as well.
I'm not gonna
How
tell you.
has that translated into your business?
It's like 6 companies.
So one of the things that you
I
see
think
is
it's like
when you
4,
talk
it's
about
like 6.
the performance
The
of the
other 2 are
equity
gonna bring it
markets
around,
feeding
so
into
just
banking
had a hold on
activity,
whatever the
there's
fuss he's
almost
talking about.
always
I have
an
no idea what
increase
he's
in
talking about. It's kind of
M&A
misleading.
incentive for
Kind of.
companies that have market caps that have
Like,
grown over the
3, 2, 1
course of the year.
situation or
People
something.
who are at the helm of large public companies see those currencies as rising in value and therefore will look to make acquisitions on the back of that. We're certainly seeing an uptick in our M&A financing pipeline. And the credit markets are highly accommodating at this point for most acquisitions that are of high quality, where there's a clear strategic rationale and financeable business.
Pot chop. Hedge fund model. Oh, that's what you can't say. Hedge fund model. Unlike you last. What's called pot chop? Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's totally fine for investment management, but it's not a fine way of doing it.
What's becoming a very competitive market?
It's called, there you go, pot chop. Thank you. This one before.
Private credit has fundamentally changed the structure of credit markets, and this has happened.
Doing capital doesn't have 100 pause investing in a specific market. Which is what we call this thing pause, frankly,
Called
we're down.
2015, seeing the size of the private credit markets quadruple from roughly
The whole thing there,
let's call
it's called pot shop, pod, fixed income energy. They really didn't say much. Veteran Bobby Yan, Michael Glenbob. Michael Gilben's alright. Bobby Yan's a fucking shit mix motherfucker. If they got Bobby Yan in it, I wouldn't buy any of it. I'd sell all of it. It's like Bobby Yan in it and pot shop. Sell all of it. Everybody going to jail. But all that stuff. Recent boom in stablecoin, POS. What's this? Stablecoin boom, price, close monitoring, risk. Used to be. Hey, it's stablecoin. You talking Bitcoin? You talking about? Me, stablecoins are going, here we go. Put it on financial stability in the future. Monday, pre-release of financial stability, which is due Wednesday.
There was the regional bank exposure about a month ago.
It's like Monday.
Blue Owls scrapping their plans to merge public and private
Tuesday,
credit
yeah.
funds. And given how much spreads in this space
Guess we'll
have
know
compressed,
tomorrow, won't we?
are investors getting adequately compensated for the risk that they're underwriting?
Yeah, look, I think that one of the biggest risks in private credit is really just around the persistence of returns. I think that the kind of high-profile blow-ups that you've highlighted are really the sorts of things at the fundamental credit level that happen when you get into a situation where you have very rapid growth in a market, as we have here, a real sort of competitive situation on the part of lenders to deploy capital. And what that creates is sometimes a rush for deals.
I do hate it.
And what that
I
means
hate it. I just like what I like. All the time what I like.
we see
I hate what I
oftentimes at
don't
the
like.
deal level, you see
I don't
breakdowns in
care.
due diligence, breakdowns in transaction structuring, breakdowns in transaction controls
I
that we
don't.
would consider to be the sorts of things that as a regulated bank institution we would consider more for the course. But some with more flexibility maybe are free to pursue alternative methods. Now,
10 cent
the
limited
fundamental point
is
though, Juman, is
okay.
that just because something is private credit does not make it more
It's not like
risky.
the bad
This
people,
market
it's just
is populated by
LT
there's
limited.
a handful to a dozen names who have been in this business for over 20 or 25 years. The business itself has existed.
It's a
since
lot
the
going on
80s,
here that's different
and
than
the
what I have. I'll
recent
tell you
growth
that.
has brought
I don't care for that at
in a
all.
lot of additional capital
Maybe it's
and a lot of
good, it's
additional
not good.
platforms who had not
Share
historically
those,
been trafficking in the space, and that's where you start to see a little bit more of the pressure to deploy.
10 cent, 20 cent.
Yeah, Jerry, people often forget that 99% of the market in Europe is comprised of SMEs. Would you say it is therefore incumbent on investors to participate more in this space for Europe's ultimate competitiveness in the long run?
So I would agree with that, and I think
There's information now, it doesn't matter if I'm investing in this, that,
became
it's
the
just
force that it
information.
has.
I
This
don't
was
know.
initially almost a creation of a regulatory construct that pushed a lot of lending out of banks, that kind of caused banks to need to reconsider lending into small and medium-sized enterprises and lending into longer dated exposures. HSBC, for its part, we're essentially the largest
Don't ever do what the fuck
we
you're
have
talking
a
about.
client base that private credit funds would like to have access to, and so we're very much active in lending to SMEs, particularly around our innovation banking proposition.
You just let it happen again.
Yeah, Jerry, I'm going to ask you a question. There was a major restructuring that was announced at HSBC on the macro side of the business, a streamlining of credit and macro. Can we expect something similar, a restructuring of a similar magnitude in your line as well?
Look, I think all the
changes that have happened over the course of the year have been sort of led from the top, with George Henry trying to cause HSBC to become a simple organization and one that's straightforward and easy for our clients to manage and navigate, and where kind of the personnel and the assets and the funding of the business are very closely aligned to strategy. I think last week's announcement were another example of that.
Loves
So we'll
pancakes,
carry on.
no syrup, extra butter. You know,
Jerry, thank you so much. A real
I'd
pleasure
like to
to
think my
talk to
daughter
you.
would be
Jerry
like that.
Keefe, Head of Banking for Europe and Americas at HSBC. Well,
Because
coming up, we'll be talking
jam,
to Lithuania's foreign
no
minister
grape
about the
jelly,
latest
jam.
U.S. peace plan
Purple
for
jam,
Ukraine.
no grape
That's
jelly.
next. This is Bloomberg.
You got a daughter like that though? No, that's what I told her. You asked me about my daughter, you actually declared you raised her. You declared that you raised my daughter. Well, I declared that you might not have one either, because you raised mine, I probably don't have one. I would think your daughter, though, would probably be about 6 or 7. Maybe looking forward to going to Bearsville if you had one. You ever going to school? You had them Cheerios things at 6:45, 5:45 a.m.? She doesn't really like the brown sugar in it, I don't think, so much. She likes the regular white sugar in Cheerios. But she's scared to say something because she don't want to beat and raped by you again like you've been doing. Yeah, right now. Yeah, no shit. So, good on you, you big man. Good on you.
What does that look like in terms of staff?
So that's nice.
More importantly, you have to retrain a lot of your existing staff as well. How, I guess, receptive have they been to that?
I got to give our partners a lot of credit. They really have embraced both the Back to Starbucks strategy and the Green Apron Service standard. And so the fact that we...
Can you imagine your daughter like chicken wings? I heard she didn't like chicken wings that much, really. She preferred the chicken thighs. For some reason, she's very up on what she likes to try to like and try to not like. She's a little young for me, honestly, but she got eyes on, but they all got eyes on. You don't even worry about it. I'm not like that. I'm not gonna take her butt like you do. Don't worry.
You got a great atmosphere, and then also be very cost conscious, and that's what we're doing here.
Don't miss the close live every weekday.
Making money isn't about drowning.
Yeah, Tuchanere. That's what that guy would name his daughter. Named Tuchanere de Grandes, which is like Tara Dingus. If you had a daughter, that's what you would name her. But she don't go to school yet. She got pulled out of kindergarten allegedly for beating and abuse things. She's going to be homeschooled for that. It doesn't really work that well if you haven't gone through it a bunch and you've been getting Sabizio and all this other stuff, which his daughter, all his alleged daughter been catching him. I don't even know she's not just going to be his alleged dead daughter, but she already went to school. He already been killed at my daughter a bunch, 2 times I think. 2 different daughters, so that's nice. I got that going on. That's real good. So.
Losing the fear of looking foolish comes with age. Losing your way in your own home doesn't. Confusion with time and place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's.
This is The Pulse. I'm Jemima Versace in Dubai. Now, stocks extend their Friday rebound as traders increase bets of a rate cut by the Fed next month. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says talks with Kyiv for a U.S.-backed peace plan with Russia could extend beyond Trump's deadline of Thursday. A potential breakthrough is pulling oil and European gas lower, with Ukrainian dollar bonds rallying.
Ukrainian dollar bonds. Invest heavy in Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine and Russia's on the way up. I notice I talk to Zelensky, I talk to Putin all the time. Trump's done and out. Ukraine and Russia with the world government. We're politicians on the world stage. Myself, Zelensky, Putin. Trump is a terrorist on the world stage. We're politicians, a big difference. Trump murders people, we kill people. It's a big fucking difference.
Criticism came through from the U.S. president. Many world leaders didn't attend. But as we over the weekend, Jennifer, is it being perceived to have been a success?
You said something about revolts.
I
think if we take a look at what we're hearing from a number of leaders who were in fact in attendance, they're touting this G20 by President Ramaphosa in South Africa as quite a success, especially if you consider what you were just mentioning there. Many of the issues that were overshadowing
Yeah, I put PTM, corporations, new energy materials. That's probably something there, because we got heavy new energy materials coming out. Like, next 2 years, it's going to be a flood of new stuff. They're like new periodic table stuff, and pediatric medicine, nuclear medicine, all this stuff. All this stuff. Next couple of years. It's incredible.
Prior to the summit, which included many of the things that South Africa actually set out for in
Country's
this
largest
G20,
such
which
a
is
city,
focus on bolstering
confirming a reduction in run
focus
rates.
on debt sustainability.
The biggest investor there, not immediately responded to request for comment. Well, honestly, I'll comment right now. You haven't really responded with much of a request for anything. Hold on. I don't want to lose money. There's my comment. I don't want to lose any money. I want to make at least 12.6% to 20.8%. And if I'm not making 12.6%, frankly, I don't really want to play the game. I'd rather adjust fire. Commented. Casino, Bouchard, Perchant. That word, fucking ding don't watch. SA is targeting 3% of debt breakdown, receiving a fresh capital injection. I don't even read it. French grocer, that one's gone. I'm out of that one. The French grocer said it, I know somebody named that name. It's gonna get me zinging. I won't care to read it. Fuck off. The French grocer said it aims to reduce its outstanding term 800 million, 921 million, 1.4 billion. Net debt's on 1.7 private 2029, 2020 press release for the company Monday. Well, we're in time now. Got prepared to change about the whole thing. It's fine, goodbye. Companies redoing its plan to get operations back on track in 2030 before the capital structure. Which one? Casino lines. Debt haircut, 60 million funds from shareholders. That one. France retail holdings controlled by, what is this thing? The debt agreement. Reserve control of the business, as they said. Observons chichichon, rocher aussi combat, et c'est profond, et c'est s'il vous plaît, possédons sur Kosovo, Bashikon, 60 Indonesian government auctioned the U.S. sanctioned supertanker and its cargo of crude oil at least 70 million, according to government documents seen by Bloomberg News. The Army 114 is very large crude carrier flags to Iran was seized by Indonesia in 2023, allegedly transferring oil to another tanker and spilling some in the process. So we got jacked $70 million. No, that's a crazy fine. That's like $10 million. What the hell happened? Where's the other $60 million go? I'll tell you, that is crazy talk. 2023. But yeah, we're gonna let that go. 97 billion tanker. The 23 is when I started telling them to take the boats. I said, find the cocaine, send the boats. Follow cocaine. That's the problem right now. Follow cocaine, send the boats. 2023 is about when I started. That boat was, they were finding cocaine. They racked us that much money, which means we bought our product back, which means there was cocaine in that boat, or something else in that boat. There was dope in that boat. We bought it back. That's why 10 million fine was 60 million fine, which is why it's a fucking, look at that's why it's so authentic. 2023, 160 tons of light crude carrying equipment, right? 167 tons of light crude was, how much is that in dope candy? Yeah, exactly. That, we bought that back. Watch. Lane freight rates to stand rise in exports.
Lebanon's health ministry says the
I'm going to Taiwan remarks. Fuck you. Really famous form of the parliamentary economy. Crypto exchange BitCub said to consider IPO in Hong Kong. Which IPO? Which one? People want to know now. No, I'm kind of curious. And his family office bullets at Newcastle. I did just do that, thank you. But I think they're talking about somebody else. I don't care for that at all. I know about it. It's not me. I don't care for that at all either. Put that whole thing down. Spot freight, rates up, liquefied. Natural gas tankers extended a surge, record-breaking exports, complete, clean, climate contained. It's actually, as you figured, somebody you don't care for, and they don't get the new that's for your movement. So there, that. Cost of higher ship transporting LNG on the U.S. to Europe jumped about 12% Friday.
Expectations for December Fed rate cuts
So-
have been scoped again after comments from the New York Fed president.
Appears to be even
John
more
Williams says
upside
he
for
sees room
rates
to
with
lower
shit
interest
charge
rates
more.
again
It's just like, good,
in
you
the
just do
near
this
term,
stuff all
as the
day.
market's
You just
office.
debunk all this stuff. During the Atlantic, they started talking to the Garrett, so you're fucking back off.
Although somewhat
Second half of December, according to traders knowledge, the matter 30-day moving average North American LNG exports rose to the highest level. You just get curious about how another nigga is motherfucking in your ear all the time. Why are you telling my ear, dog?
between the achievement of our two goals.
New York Fed President John Williams. Well, gold prices have been moving on these Fed lines and are now beginning to edge slightly higher. And you can see over the last couple of days, not doing a whole lot, but this morning moving a little bit in the positive direction. Over the course of the year, of course, gold has been a
Sounded
massive
racist,
performer, up around 50%. Joining us now
from
is John
Peru.
McCluskey, CEO and President of Alamos
Right,
Gold.
yes, the
Given,
United States
in
operating
the
profit
introduction
margin
onto you,
25,
we
30%
just
for
played
the
a
year.
little bit of
Current
commentary
state of
to
money
driving the
growth
markets from
forecast
John
for
Williams,
September
suggesting that a
return
rate cut for
results.
December perhaps is still on the table. To what extent
I
do
have
you
no
think
idea.
the
The
fortune
government
of
shut
gold
down. The
is
shadow government
actually
got shut down.
underpinned
We're
by
back.
the
This
Fed
is
rate
actual
cutting
government.
cycle throughout
We
2026?
shut down.
Well, there's been a fairly long
There's been
relationship
specialized
between
organizations
between
work
what
for
the Fed
governments
does with
and
its rates and the gold price.
Most adversely
And
affected by
as
43 day
the
impasse,
as the
which
Fed
for
lowers
federal
rates,
government workers, you're on day one a month.
obviously the opportunity cost of putting your money into gold improves. So that it has always been a key indicator for gold for investors to move into gold. So I think it's going to be positive, but you know, gold has been trading in a positive direction for quite a long time. I mean, certainly for the last 10 years, we've seen it move from $1,100 an ounce up to $4,000 an ounce. So it had more to do with it had something to do with Fed rates, but it's had to do with many other factors as well.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, we were talking about the great debasement trade that was going on, and that investors were looking for alternatives to the USD as safe havens. One of them, of course, was gold. Now, with the dollar stabilizing, do you think that we're going to stop seeing those types of flows, at least sort of the hot money that's going into gold?
You know, I pay less attention to what's going on in the short term, and I take a longer term point of view, and that's what we've done in order to build this company. You know, we've been building it over the last 20 years from virtually nothing into a $20 billion company today, and the view we had on gold when we started, gold was under $300 an ounce, is that gold was going to ultimately strengthen, and we've seen it trade up and down in a very cyclical fashion as it does.
Something about Hong Kong and Taiwan. Hong Kong has this thing going with Taiwan where Hong Kong got Taiwan's money and Taiwan kind of running the show. And it kind of got this thing going to all this stuff is sleight of hand. The old planet's on sleight of hand right now. And everybody's coming for Trump. Ukraine and Russia actually get along. They're blowing stuff up. I want blown up, believe it or not. Hong Kong and Taiwan fucking love each other. They love each other. They ain't even about that noise with each other. They're good. India hates Trump. Whole thing hates Trump. All the alphabet stuff they got fucked on. It's on the escrow over there waiting for him. I know it is. Modi ain't that bad. That stuff with that temple they fucked on, it was a mistake. They didn't understand. Now they understand. It was a mistake. They didn't mean to knock down an ancient temple of Chandra. They didn't even mean to. They know they didn't mean to. They said they didn't mean to. He meant it. I know. I checked. I would have killed him for that shit. I promise you. Yeah, India's economy said to grow 7.3 in 3 months since September. That don't happen if you're on some bullshit. It don't happen that way. You end up like 1% and negative percent. 7.3 is a big percent for that. September, according to the median estimate Bloomberg, that's a big fucking percent. It's like, it's just a big percent. I ain't even getting into it. It's a factoid equation. You need to figure out how much money they made off that.
Much higher multiples to
Higher cryptocurrency.
In a bull market, but we're not really seeing that.
Found 2018, they're going to cruise in this area.
There's just a few cases where
gold stocks are trading at premiums to their net asset
In the
value.
world, the worst performing 25 listing generated a weighted average decline of 12%.
Certainly central bank
Said index
buying
had fallen about
has
10%
been
this year.
a
That
factor, but going
found
forward, I think it has
2018.
to do more with
You need to look into the bit cub, whatever the fuck that is, because if it took a decline,
that's been
set
going
index
on.
falling 10%. The set index, like I was saying, I want 12.5 or up. Fuck it, but it fell 10%. That means they're looking at dumping it for me. Figure that out. You might be able to buy that. Here's more. They come launch Hong Kong early next year. That's crazy about. That's that Hong Kong IPO they're talking about. Why they ended with Taiwan. Only details could have changed if people said identify with information to the public was concluded only details could change. People said it's not to identify because the information as well. It's about half public now. So
I think that's been
that number gonna go
that's been
to 2 something.
due to the fact that
A little more.
the
It's
US
still
has
gonna have
taken on a
dropped.
substantial amount of
I
debt.
just leave that go. So don't do your
That
thing.
doesn't
That's
seem
what
to
they're gonna do
be
anyhow.
going away. It seems to continue to grow. I think all those factors are coming into play.
Yeah, okay. So gold is up, spot gold is up more than 50% this year, 55%. Are we likely to get a repeat performance of that in 2026? Do you have a target of
Put a
where
freeze on that
spot
because
gold
I'm
could
gonna
get
fight
to by
it.
the end of next year?
Well, it's easy to project.
Richard
but,
Harper's
that's-
partner at investment
that's
savers
where
balance
mistakes
here.
are often
How
made.
you
I
get
think
private
it's
equity.
very difficult
CC Stanford,
to make specific
senior
predictions
role helping
on where
Vault.
gold will be
Who
over
served founders
specific
from
time
top
frames,
ranks.
but I do see
High
gold
money managers
very
this year.
clearly
Well,
making its way
I hate everything I
much
just
higher
read there.
than this
No,
$5,000 target.
Y'all
that
assholes.
the major U.S. banks have been
So there's
mentioning,
that.
but I
Complete.
think that's
I don't want the
certainly,
details, frankly. Just
that's
go and run
a
that. They go
decent
to hell
target
and
to
die
get for
for it.
2026. But
Good to be that.
I
Every
think
problem
that
with
we're
bigger
here in
opportunity.
a
Harper, you showed
multi-year
roughly 4
bull market for gold
490,
right now, and I think gold will
euros.
trade
We
right
follow
through that
Stanford.
$5,000
Keep
an
on
ounce
sell home
level.
serve.
I think it's on its
UK
way
investments.
much higher than that. The gold miners are doing extremely well. I mean, as a sector, we produce gold
It's
for
kinda
roughly
so what?
$1,400
Okay.
per ounce in terms of all-in sustaining costs, and then everything above that is that's profit. So at $4,000 gold, the gold equities are
We're doing
doing
that pleasure,
extremely
right?
well.
That's it.
Imagine how
That's
much
it.
better they're going to do.
Okay, so as it pertains to your own business, as you look ahead to next year, are you prioritizing growth or return of capital to shareholders in 2026?
Well, we've always tried to maintain both, but primarily, we're not a Barrick or a Newmont. We're not one of these companies that are sort of almost ex-growth. They can grow through acquisition, but trying to grow through their existing assets, it's quite difficult when you're already at that scale. Alamos is a company that's producing just over
I don't know,
500,000 ounces right now, and
480,
we're on our way to producing 1 million ounces a year, and we're
dollars a
getting
year
there
something.
by growing our existing asset base. We're not getting there through acquisitions. We're taking the mines that we have now, and we're expanding operations at those mines, and that's going to take us
Yeah, but it's
effectively from
what
this.
job you're talking
we're
about.
going to do about 560,000 ounces
Yeah,
this
96
year.
million a week though, is what it is.
We're
We're 98
aiming
now with all
to
the overtime.
about 1 million
And
ounces
$2 million in
by
overtime.
by the end
This
of
is
the
last
decade.
like month.
That's amazing
Good,
growth for this
last year,
sector,
last month and a half.
and
$2 million overtime last month
and
and a
they've
half.
been
That's
essentially
good.
building on that over quite a number of years. We've made a
Yeah.
number of acquisitions while the gold price was quite a bit lower, and now we're in effect able to capitalize on that by investing the capital to grow the mines.
Yeah. John McCluskey, CEO and President of Alamos Gold, thank you so much for joining us today on the show. Well, coming up, we'll be talking to Lithuania's foreign minister about the latest on the U.S. peace plan for Ukraine. That's next. This is Bloomberg.
The coups, the crime, the junk. How do you get it off? Hi, Adam J. here for Abracadabra, the contractor strength wonder cleaner that removes the toughest stuff on the like magic. Abracadabra is strong enough for my job site, yet gentle enough to work wonders on your home. Abracadabra does what other products can't. Now this is a big problem. Abracadabra has the muscle to melt expanding foam like snow. Remove pure grease
stickers than Abracadabra. Remove stubborn gum in your hair or anywhere. And crayon marks on the wall disappear before your eyes. And off the paper too. For cruddy caulk and sealants, now break that bond with a touch of your wand. Get tar off that car in a flash. Melt sap away with a spray, and grimy rims sparkle like new. Abracadabra works wonders on concrete. Oil stains disappear. Tire marks vanish.
It's delicate enough to clean the makeup off my glasses, the dirt on my shoes, and even the dirtiest, greasiest oven.
Nasty barbecue with Abracadabra. Just dip it and strip it, and you'll be grilling in no time. Clean tar off this $100,000 car faster than you can say Abracadabra. Make just one thing effortless, and Abracadabra takes itself. And if you're not completely satisfied, keep the car and we'll refund your money 100%. Call or online to order your 8-ounce bottle of Abracadabra Wonder Cleaner now, and we'll upgrade your order to our jumbo 16-ounce bottle at no charge. Order now.
This is the Pulse. I'm Joanna Versace in Dubai. Well, for more on the wider trends in markets and how investors have been pricing in the AI trade, I'm joined by Bloomberg's Neil Campling. We're seeing once again go back into the AI space. We had NVIDIA earnings, and then of course our own Bloomberg scoop on Friday suggesting that the U.S. officials are open to the idea of NVIDIA selling those H200 chips to China. What are we seeing in the market?
Yeah, it's certainly interesting times. I think the broader AI market, there's definitely still appetite and interest in a lot of these products. I think that you've seen obviously the news around the potential reopening for the Chinese market into to NVIDIA is a positive, as is the Alibaba news of the uptake of their new product over the weekend. I suppose one of the things that there's a lot of two-way arguments around the AI trade, clearly, in terms of the rates of adoption are not up for question. One of the biggest questions, though, is whether this massive increase in the hyperscaler capex, which has more than doubled since the beginning of the ChatGPT, is whether we will see, or when we will see, decent returns on that invested capital. And that's one of the questions I think the market has at the moment.
Yeah, watching out for China tech earnings tomorrow, Alibaba. I want to ask you about ChatGPT's main rival, Quen. It seems to have drawn 10 million downloads. How is that going to affect the company's valuation?
Yeah, I think it'll be too early for those downloads to affect the valuation today in terms of earnings, but certainly if the message from the earnings call is one of re-accelerating growth, then that could certainly lead to a higher valuation. The same has been happening for the US tech stocks for some time. Whilst many people are looking at US tech and being worried about some of the valuations, I think we also need to remember that much of the growth that has been enjoyed by the tech leaders thanks to AI has meant that we've not had multiple expansion because it's been growth expansion these companies have enjoyed. If the Chinese tech heavyweights such as Alibaba and Tencent can enjoy similar types of growth characteristics, then that's got to be a positive for AI adoption and the AI thematic.
Bloomberg's Neil Campling, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Well, the deputy head of the Office of Ukraine's President told Bloomberg it was a little useless talking about peace when they face daily missile bombardments. In recent months, Lithuania has accused Russia of violating airspace and publicizing photos of their leaders. Ukraine and Oliver Trump, our chief European correspondent, Susan Beck is now with us.
That's right, Simona. I mean, I think everybody here in Brussels and really the United States, and certainly in Kiev, are going to digest what the 28th plan looks like now after the 24 hours of negotiations we saw in Geneva between the Ukrainian and the American delegation. And I'm very pleased I have to be joined by the Lithuanian Foreign Minister, Lisa Gyva. Thank you so much for taking the time to go to the timeline of this meeting. Supposed to focus on trade, but I'd love to get your particular reaction to the ongoing timeline and what your strategy is to get those war started in the conversation.
Of course, that's the first priority for Europe, to get at the table. fact that Europe is not there is a problem. And what we have to do, we have to get the ticket to the table, number one. And number two, also to get some leverage. And those two things that provide to Europe the access to negotiations are frozen assets, number one, and number two, that is the EU accession to Ukraine. We have to instrumentalize those elements, and as soon as it is possible, because it is needed right now. Frozen assets, we have to give it as a law to EU first, and then as a reparation law to Ukraine, because that will provide something credible.
There is this sort of concern because those Russian assets were explicitly referenced in the 28-point plan, and the United States has different kind of ambitions for what to do with it. So are those assets now off the table, or on the contrary, is now the moment that Europe needs to act?
After last week, the very context in which we assess the options has changed. So now there is more urgency in the very decisions. So now it's the time to make a decision that we are proceeding with it. We are still waiting for the legal proposal from European Commission, and let's do it. Let's act. Otherwise, it will be a lost opportunity for Europe to play the relevant role in it. And the very fact that they are mentioned in those points, it shows that it is important. And it is in our hands, in Europe's hands.
So there's a question of getting to the table. Once Europe is at the table, what are the red lines for Europeans from what you saw from that 28 proposal? What are non-starters?
We need a working, credible security structure that wouldn't be based on some promises not to invade anymore. We have seen it in 1994 in Budapest, and 20 years after Ukraine first time was invaded by Russia. So we cannot build our security on the hope that Russia will keep the promises that they never did, and they do not do international law, but they should, in the upcoming 5, 10, or 20 years, they won't. So that's why we need the credible working deterrence system, and that it is building the European security with Ukraine. And it's up to us to decide how we will do it. It's not something special enough for Russia.
The other thing that I'd like to discuss is also we haven't really seen a proposal from the European side. We get these proposals, we don't know exactly how the 20-point plan was put together. There's lots of questions about it, but I don't see a comprehensive, clear proposal for what the Europeans would put together and put to the table. What would that proposal include, and what do the security guarantees look like? Are we talking about an Article 5 light? What are we talking about specifically?
It doesn't mean that Europe doesn't have what to say. Of course, we start to talk about the fundamentals, but this is the very beginning and the very guarantee for the peace to last. Talk about fundamentals, territorial integrity, sovereignty of Ukraine, independence of Ukraine, and also accountability for all the crimes that were committed. If we are not getting this, if we are really talking about amnesty to everything that was done in Ukraine, for the children being abducted, for the civilians being also kidnapped, so we cannot talk about anything that we have lost. And those elements that Europe lost, Lithuania is part of the coalition of the willing, we will be part of the securing and supporting Ukrainian forces after the ceasefire. So there are other elements also. EU membership, that's one of the also elements of the security
One of the other issues you need to tackle today, you'll be meeting with Jameson Greer, Howard Lutnick from the United States. What would the Europeans like to get out of those trade negotiations? Is that what that would be considered a victory? And added to that, how much leverage does Europe has given how dependent they are right now on the United States buy-in for Ukraine? Do they have any leverage to throw around on trade?
Of course we have. There are so many common challenges that we all face, and that is China first of all. Overproduction, unfair trade practices, and all of these. So this is the common challenge for us. And during my visit to Washington, we were talking about the economic security that unites us. That we shouldn't work against each other, be it steel and aluminum. That's not Europe that is causing the problems for the United States. That's China that does, and there are many other areas. So I am looking forward for the discussion on our positive agenda where we can and must cooperate on it. And we should take to the, we have to finish with everything that we talked and agreed upon in all those negotiations and proceed with the broad agenda.
And on the question of China, Lithuania has been one of the more outspoken member states from the European Union, talking about some of those issues that were sort of pushed away by many other member states now, I think are being more openly acknowledged. Do you think that there could be a sort of more concrete framework that the Europeans and the United States could work with together to get the U.S. on board to deal with China?
Now, first of all, we have to reduce our vulnerabilities. That is the lesson number one and the largest one from Lithuania. If there is vulnerability, knowing that China has the intent to use it for political purposes, we will do. So no one should be surprised that the instrumentalize the export controls of the rare earth minerals. That's what they promised to do, and that's what they did. They told Lithuania in other areas. So for us, reducible vulnerability, diversify the trade, really strong transatlantic agenda for economic security, and be very strict away from straightforward China concerns investment policies and trade policies in Europe. We cannot be the area for the dumped import and the subsidized material destroying our industries.
Well, Minister, thank you so much for your time here, speaking at the sidelines of this meeting with the U.S. delegation that will begin in just a couple hours' time. Some thoughts there on trade with China, but also the key movement here for the Europeans. They must move now on the assets. That's the message.
Such a timely interview, Bloomberg's Oliver Crook in Brussels. Thank you so much. And later, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick joins us live from Brussels, where U.S. and EU teams are hashing out the details around their own trade deal. You can catch that at 11:45 a.m. London time. And up next, Bloomberg Read, this is Bloomberg.
Actually, Kyle,
Designed to help you overcome injuries, minimize pain, and regain the confidence to get back out there. Black Friday sale live. Learn more at Stillco.com.
When expectations are high, there's no room for uncertainty. To maximize impact, your logo needs to look great on right here and arrive on time. And that starts with 4imprint. Visit 4imprint.com. 4imprint for certainty.
Ireland is maybe first country inspired to me to use a different ingredients. First time I went to Ireland, trying to the culture food. I never heard of this ingredients, never used in Japan. Kind of like wow, you know, and cilantro, chili, garlic, and olive oils. So a lot of the seafoods, completely different way. Example, they have a fresh fish. Japan, the fresh fish is a sashimi. Use fresh fish, make it called a ceviche, cooked with lemon juice. We never use a soy sauce. First time I ate this, kind of wow. So then after this one, my cooking style got changed, combined to Japanese style and another country food, then make it over style.
I don't get to start that comment. You really be carrying that stuff. Shut up, man.
From Bank of Korea's perspective, we don't believe that monetary policy alone can
Diabetic and
control the
lactose
housing
intolerant
crisis.
can give them the
But on
exact
the other
opposite
hand,
what
we
they
are
asked for
mindful
or what their
that
body can take.
ample
You're an
liquidity
idiot.
wouldn't throw the fire to the real estate market. Our official position is that we will maintain the easing rate cycle, but the magnitude and timing of the cut or even the change of direction will depends on the new data.
Countries around the world are pulling away from U.S. assets. Do you see a debasement happening?
No, actually, I think we have discussed this quite a lot. But actually, we look at the actual capital flows in the last 6 months. I don't see that there are a lot of talk, but there's no real movement away from dollar.
Don't miss Bloomberg Inside live weekdays.
It's Friday and then you definitely playing with your Bloomberg Read. Here's what you need to know. December in the bonds, stock futures getting a lift as traders increase their bets on a Fed cut in 2 weeks. A Thanksgiving deadline, European officials racing to buy Ukraine more time with a counter-proposal to the U.S.'s 28-point peace plan. And no deal, BHP
It's cheaper to get two guys last year to get one back.
again after a fresh
Yeah,
takeover.
I said that.
Let's take a look at how we are entering this important trading week. Futures highs continuing the lift that we got on Friday. Of course, the S&P 500 still ended the week down 2%. The Nasdaq 100 still ended the week down more than 2%, even with those gains in Friday's session. It does appear, though, that the sentiment continues. John Williams has a lot to answer for. Let's look at the bond market because we're not seeing too much movement in pricing there. But odds of a December rate cut are now around 75%. That's a far cry from where they were before Williams spoke. So we want to get more Williams speak, more clarification on what he meant when he said near term. Will other voices join him in potentially putting a December rate cut back on the table? I do also want to point to Bitcoin as well. We were up about 7%
7%. You're like, no, I understand why they're
And once again,
so
just on the
confusing.
stock market, there are a couple of arbitrageurs out today, including Citigroup head NBC, saying that he's seeing record inflows, so that the bull market is more to run. And like
You can't do the coin wallets with a bunch of coins. You want to do coin wallets, you need one coin.
positive voices
It's
out there for
Bitcoin.
what it's worth. Let's get to some individual movers now this Monday morning. Over to London.
Good morning, Ronnie. Let's start with Alibaba's shares today, and they are up after the company's AI app Coin debuted very strongly with more than $10 million in the first week since its relaunch. So that means that Alibaba might be able to rival OpenAI's ChatGPT at some point, and that puts the question on how the company can leverage this app to drive people to its consumer business. Moving on to Twitter, which is also up this morning after Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff praised Google's Gemini 3, saying it was a major breakthrough, that performance was faster, reasoning was sharper, and he will not be going back to ChatGPT.
Probably not there right now.
Reflected in
Forgot
those Alphabet
our
shares
date.
this morning.
Again.
And finally, Tesla
Our
is
date.
also up after Elon Musk said over the
So what's
weekend
with
that
that?
the
We had a
company
date with
had
someone else.
finalized
We realized
design
it.
on its
We
AI
probably
5
went
chips
Now I
and it would
understand.
start work on the
That
AI
one's
6
doesn't
chips.
count.
Those are
This
chips that
one
will be
I
used
should
in
count.
the
This
data
one
centers and cars,
is you
and
get
it seems
that.
that is a development that is received very warmly by the
This
market,
says
and we
this
are
is the
up
number for
almost
the house
2%
rent.
for Tesla.
Now we know that. Right.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much. A good roundup there as we head into the Monday trading session. And later in the hour, we'll push ahead to our
76. What is
business
76
week of
is?
economic data. We'll be speaking with Lauren Van Bulgen of Allspring.
8.
Productive talks then on the Ukraine peace plan.
It is in my personal view that we've had probably the most productive and meaningful meeting so far in this entire process since we've been involved from the beginning. We have a very good work product that was already built on a foundation of input from all the relative parties involved here, and we were able to go through some of those items now point by point, and I think we've made good progress.
Joining us now is Bloomberg's Oliver Cook, chief European correspondent. So productive, according to U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, productive for everybody, Ollie?
Well, that's the big question, Bonnie, and that's the question I put to the deputy head of Zelensky's office when I spoke to him about an hour ago, asking him what the status of the talks are, where are we on these negotiations, and I think there's a lot more work to be done than the United States would like, and certainly at the sort of timeline that they laid out, with wanting to get a proposal through by Thanksgiving, that is this Thursday, which seems pretty unlikely.
I'm seeing an old fucking
Bonnie, the real
no more
difficulty
little
with
berries.
these negotiations
No more
is that under the
eggs.
Trump administration, the geopolitics in
I'm gonna change it.
2025, basically
Something.
none of the
Watch.
American allies, whether it's the
Something.
Europeans or the Ukrainians, can speak too honestly about what
Yeah,
they
I
actually
can't
think
something. Plus, I
about
hate
what's in this
being on
proposal. So
social
until we actually
media.
see the
Watch
text,
God.
see how much
Oh, I'm
of
gonna
an
get a
edit
video
has
of
been made,
something.
how
Oh, I
much
bet I
has
get a
shifted,
video.
it's
Video
gonna be
must
hard to
time.
say how
Man, that's
happy
good.
the sides are. That being
Oh,
said, the
that's
Ukrainians
all
have
I
made
would
positive
do is a
indications
video of
from
shark
the
box.
discussions over
All
the
of you get
24
shark
hours in
box.
Geneva. So to
Oh,
the
you get shark box.
now
And I
let's
get,
get to the
oh,
to
you
the
get, he needs to go to Hong Kong. That's what happened. He needs to go to Hong Kong.
the fact that basically the Europeans have
Ukraine.
been
He needs to go to Ukraine.
but he also
Mr. Musk, there's money for you in Ukraine. I know it.
Europeans can earn
Mr.
their
Zelensky has
in
it.
the
President
conversation.
Zelensky has all the money for you. I know he does. Check. Gotta go there in person.
Stuck here in Belgium that the European leaders just cannot agree upon.
Yeah, it was a great and timely interview, Ollie, but what about this counter proposal
Ukraine
that
doing
Europe's
29
supposed
raise
to
3
come up
cents a
with
dollar.
to
It seems
integrate
the
the
highest
Brexit
expected.
deal?
I say raising a cent.
A deadline
I don't know what it is. Let's put more money on it. Fuck that.
I think that what is on the table at this stage is not very clear from the European
It's
side.
like, okay.
From the very beginning, this is
Government,
one of the questions
yeah,
I put to the
still
foreign
faces
ministry. We've heard a lot of the
versus
European
buying
positions.
any
We haven't heard
security,
really a comprehensive
any
plan. We
sign
haven't at
of
least seen
movement,
a comprehensive plan when it comes to Europe. And again, on the one place where they did have a way to exert leverage is on these Russian
Unusual.
assets, and they were unable
Turns
to
out
move with
it's actually
it.
Russia. You gotta tell President Putin.
Realization within
He got something for you.
You know, the Europeans want to talk like a geopolitical superpower, but they're not acting
Those who
like
be
one.
friends with
As
Trump again,
time
they
goes
not
on
be friends with Trump now.
administration, something needs to change. Either they need to step up and start acting like one, or they need to stop talking like one. And I think that is a policy issue for many of the Europeans. And Bonnie, I'll fold in another thing. Here today, Jameson Greer, Howard Lutnick, in this very building to talk with trade representatives from the European Union. How much leverage do they have to put pressure on the United States on trade when they're so dependent on them for so many things?
Why would we take a visa? He's positive. I'm gonna get a video of that. Watch. So however he died, I'm gonna get a video of it.
Exactly, and the
It's
EU
good.
is saying no deal
It's
is
got
expected
turkey knife on
today
it.
or anything like that. This is
I heard a turkey knife
political
on it.
stock-taking
And that's good.
exercise according to the trade chief in the EU. Just one more question on the Ukraine plan, Ollie. You know, Putin has hasn't shown any flexibility, not from day one, not from the pre-war days, in fact. Is there anything that would get him to move on the U.S. side?
Well, listen, I think that is the big question also from the Russian side of this thing. I mean, there are questions about whether or not even that plan that we saw at the end of last week that has seen pretty
forcing
universal
global
support in
ambitions.
Europe, certainly within
Asian
Ukraine and among
leaders
many
at
even
time
lawmakers on
striving
the
to
Republican side in the United States as really favoring Russia. There were questions about if even that proposal would be okay with the Russians. The thing is with the Ukrainians, which Zelensky learned really the hard way back in February after that catastrophic meeting with President Trump, is never be the obstacle. Never be the
We're gonna do it everywhere. How you gonna be the global
United
leader?
States
Watch.
idea. Say,
What about Philippines? Philippines gonna do it. President Ferdinand already said probably.
Again, the method for the Ukrainians
So
is
this like
to
that
try to
is
demonstrate again and again that Putin is in point of fact the obstacle to peace. That seems to work sometimes, and then suddenly this 28-point plan comes out, and that sort of
That lady's
theory
not my
shot
sister.
pieces.
She's
So this will
mad.
continue
Watch.
to be the Ukrainian method.
The price said, we saw that Pushka Kosono for Senate, which means that lady's like my sister lady, leave her alone. That's taking out context. Ты что думал, что кто-то это все кто-то кордон, и прицелу почти причину, что сам ты кто-то. Everybody know. Not everybody know. Not everybody know.
Translated from Russian. So again, a lot of questions about this proposal,
Change the
how
world
it
here.
came into being, and what it looks like
It's not
today
about
after 24 hours of negotiations in Geneva.
Certainly a tense week, Oliver. Thank you so much. That is Bloomberg's Oliver Crook.
So hold on. Sibling over cocaine claims we're very worried about her. Lee Marcos, senator, claimed on his youth guide her as the state's flexible project that the president really used cocaine. Ain't that interesting?
Speaking of the U.S.'s boycott,
What is it, genocide? He's accused of genocide. Yeah, I accuse him of genocide personally. I've proven committed genocide. I don't know, but this Mark Carney guy, I don't know, I'm talking about Trump, like he was earlier.
So again, multilateral organizations continue to try to do their work even without some major players, and it wasn't just the U.S. this time around either. But we do have a joint declaration. So what did the G20 agree upon?
That's right, Bonnie, and especially as you mentioned, of course, we didn't have the U.S. leader who was here at the G20. Also, China's Xi Jinping was not there, and there's even some reports potentially that Argentina was not happy with this eventual declaration. We didn't see Argentina's leader here either, but still, many people are seeing the ability of President Ramaphosa and the G20 to come up with a declaration at the beginning of the summit, despite some of the threats from the U.S. president, is seen as somewhat of a success. And if you take a look at some of the recommendations that were included in it, many of the priorities of this summit and this G20 presidency, which for President Ramaphosa was focused on the global south and Africa at its heart, did make it into the final text. So bolstering multilateralism, increasing climate finance, and also debt sustainability. But if you dig into some of the details of what we were witnessing throughout the weekend, there still seems to be some fracturing and some silos that exist throughout the world order. We saw European leaders obviously dealing with what you were just speaking to Oliver about, the issue of the 28-point plan in Ukraine. We also saw BRICS leaders meeting about debt relief. And so despite this declaration coming at the beginning of the summit, something that many people did not expect, the question is, what, if anything, do we see moving forward from this grouping? And what exactly does this convening and this unified grouping of countries look like moving forward, especially as the U.S. takes on the presidency next?
And interestingly, Jen, the Chinese premier there, Li Chang, defending his country's rare earth cards at the summit, it was a bit of a charm offensive, really, wasn't it?
Which means I get money. That's
Yeah,
what
and
I
I
find
think
it.
that's
If I invest in it, it's called I get money.
especially
Hold on,
if
I'm gonna get money very
consider
second. I'll tell you something. Oh, hey, look like a prisoner escaping. That's true. That is true.
with what we saw just a year ago.
I didn't escape either. They let me out. It was a concentration camp. I don't want to hear it.
We did hear the Chinese
Fosters.
premier